Hello, everyone, and welcome to Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and I am joined, as always, by my bro, old boy, James Ash. How you doing, old boy?
Pretty good. How you guys doing?
Doing good. And tonight we have a very special guest, the one and only psychic medium, real life Ghostbuster extraordinaire, April Roane. How are you tonight, April?
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me on.
You are very
Welcome.
welcome. We're excited to have you. Let's get this started right away. I'm really interested to hear about some of your exploits. I've heard of you in legend, but I've never been able to actually speak with you in person. So, if you will, just kind of tell our audience who you are and what you do.
I am a psychic medium. I actually work with individuals one on one and in workshops, or I'm sure, James, you've seen some of my live videos on
Yep.
Facebook. And, I really my goal is to inspire and lift humanity one heart at a time. On my free time, ha ha ha, I do a lot with the paranormal field. So I am used as a tool during investigations. And I've worked with some police cases for missing persons. And that's pretty much what I do. And I've written some books. I've had my own radio show with CBS, and I'm now doing Close to Death radio on Tuesdays. So there's a lot there's a lot in my bag of tricks that I play with and juggle.
Yeah, you sound like you're really, really busy.
Busy life. Very busy life.
You know what? It's a path that I guess it kind of chooses you,
Yeah.
and it takes some time for you to either accept it or not. And as much as I would love sometimes to run from doing what I do, you can't. You just can't. So I have to juggle.
Tell us a little bit about some of the cases you've worked on. I'm really interested to hear about some of the police cases and the missing person cases you've worked. I understand if you can't really give me a lot of like names and details. That makes sense. But just some general idea of some of the cases you've done, because for me, that's a really, really interesting part of this.
Every now and then I will be brought in to give my opinion, and a lot of times they will actually use multiple psychic mediums that are known to do this work, and they will take the group consensus, and then they will go forward with their investigating. Yes, I can't go into too much details. There are there was a case that I worked on with a missing female, and it was in the Virginia area, and she actually in your area, and it was about 2 years ago, and a girl that was working with the police on the case contacted me, and I couldn't see anything except what looked like an individual that had abducted her, and then I could see a few minutes before the end of her life what had happened, and then I could see her in what looked to me like a some sort of body of water that had been drained or was stagnant, like a little bit of water was left into it, and it was barren land. And actually when they found her, they also gave me, I could see a name, and I had asked the girl what is, and I shared the name with her, and it was actually a city that was one city over from where she was. And where they ended up finding the body was, they found her body, and it was in like a ravine that was almost empty, but it had a little bit of water in it, and it was barren. There was nothing around. It was a lot of woods and trees and bushes, and unfortunately, in those situations I would rather be a psychic medium that's wrong. you know um as much as I'm glad that they find missing people, they don't always find missing people alive. So that's a part of my job that is not, it's not something that I'm incredibly joyous about. It's a very difficult part of what I do. um Another case was in South Florida, and it wasn't too long ago. It was a missing female, another missing female, who had gone missing after drinking with friends, and it was out of her norm. And I actually helped them with some details, and they took information that I got, and they also spliced it together with other psychic mediums, and they were able to find her body as well. So, it's great that they're able to uncover and find the clues, and it's the reason I do what I do for closure for the family. But it's not something that I talk a lot about because of the details. And it's also not something that I'm incredibly, it's just a difficult part of what I do.
Well, yeah, I can definitely understand that. It's got to be heartbreaking in a way because, I mean, you see a lot of bad stuff, and I can kind of relate with you because that's kind of how I get the ideas for my novels is from nightmares. You know what I mean? So I live them kind of too. It's not the same because yours is real life, mine is make believe, but I can kind of understand a little bit what you're saying there. And like in my town, I live in a small mountain town called Strasburg, and there was a girl here in my town who was a friend of ours, and had been to my house many times. And this was, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, and she had just had a baby not too long ago, and somebody had stabbed her to death and killed her, and abducted the baby and took off with it. And it was a horrible thing. I mean, it was one of those situations where it literally like ripped the heart out of our town. I mean, it was really bad. And still to this day, nobody has any idea where the baby is. Nobody's ever found the baby. Nobody knows who killed her. Nothing. I mean, they can't figure it out. And it's such a sad thing. And I mean, so basically the message I'm giving you here on this is thank you to people like you who help. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of cases that you might see them and they might end badly for you. You know what I mean? It might hurt you, but you're delivering closure sometimes to a whole town. You know what I mean? Like in this case, if we got closure to this, it would be the whole town would have a chance to heal. Because still to this day, we share stuff on Facebook and still try to find leads on what happened to that little beautiful baby. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's one thing I would say to you is there's a lot of hope that you bring in a situation like that. So there's the good and there's the bad, but there's also the good.
Yeah.
On some of your
go ahead. I'm sorry, if you want to contact me maybe over the weekend, like on a private message, I have no problem sharing information that I am getting regarding the case, and you could relay the information if you'd like. That's up to you. But I don't want to go into anything publicly because of the details of it. It is a fragile situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I will definitely give you a message over the weekend and let you know what I know. And I mean, if you could be in any service, that would be wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about some of your ghost hunting adventures, because that's, I'm sure, what the audience wants to hear about, because that's always the fun and exciting part of this thing.
Yeah.
James, what are you doing on the other end of the show right now?
I'm doing nothing but listening.
Oh my God! It sounds, if you guys go back and actually listen to the audio, it sounds like somebody is breathing heavy into one of the microphones.
Yeah, that's old boy.
It is.
And that's what I thought. I'm like, James, what are you doing?
That's impossible because I have a headset on.
Well, the other James, did you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it. Do you have a mute button, old boy?
Let me see.
I'm just want to make sure it's one of you two and not, a fourth guest that we're not aware is here with us.
some weird heavy breather on the other line.
Just to let you know, I have heads. You wouldn't be able to hear that because I got it there in my ears, so it wasn't my side. Actually, I heard it.
Wow, that's interesting.
Well, just to let you know, April, I'm going to tell you something. When you were talking, remember what happened to your show the other day? I listened to your show the other day, and remember you were having that interference that was happening here.
Oh, the one we just did with James.
Yeah.
With James. That's funny.
And I'll tell you right now, I was listening to that show and something didn't. And I'm going to tell you, you're not the only one that can feel things. Yeah. Trust me, there was something that didn't want you guys talking about what you were talking about.
Interesting.
And it doesn't want you to talk about it now because I feel it.
Interesting. Huh.
So I have a past. I don't know if you listen. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt your guys'
Yeah,
conversation, but I have a past myself, and mine's pretty. We actually did a show 2 weeks ago about it, but if you can check it out, listen to it.
yeah.
Yeah, when you were talking, it was making like that noise it did. It was weird. It was like
Yeah.
something you were must have been talking about something because it's not doing it now. But like I said, I don't even have my headset on. There was no way you would even hear me breathe.
I think my ears are so trained to listen to EVPs in
Yeah,
between conversation. So just talking, I could hear breathing. And I thought it was you moving around and doing stuff.
I thought it was James actually because I don't know. Are you have a headset or you actually talk? What do you do, Mike?
I have a studio headset, but I have a mute button that stays on. The only time the mute button is off is when I'm talking, but every time else it's muted, so there's no audio output coming out of me at all. That's why sometimes there'll be a big silence
Oh.
because I'll start talking and I'll forget to unmute my mic, and I'll be talking but nobody will be able to hear me.
Yeah. Well, I was just making sure you guys know I have they're in my ears, so there's no way I'm not breathing. So yeah, we probably just had something listening. That's pretty crazy right off the bat. So,
Yeah. Well,
but
when you listen to the audio, it was pretty cool.
that was weird.
Yeah, you could clearly. It sounded like somebody had a microphone in their mouth and they were moving around.
No,
It's pretty
that's
cool.
crazy because I used to talk on the phone part like a couple weeks ago, but then I finally got headset and I haven't been doing that anymore. So no, it actually wasn't me.
So
That's weird.
speaking of the paranormal, um, what is it that you wanted to know regarding the paranormal? The cases I've worked, or
Just in general, whatever you want to, what you usually talk to on your show.
hmm
Just let the people know who you are, because I know you. I've watched your show. I've known you. The way we met anyway was weird.
yeah,
So we have a connection, and people don't know that. But like
yeah,
I said, that's. I don't even want to get into that explanation because we'd be here for hours. But the just basically the stuff you do, like with what you were talking about your cases, and like you had that show the other day. I finally got to catch it because I actually had a day off. And I really enjoyed it, but I kept hearing that sound like you guys, but I knew something was there and I could feel it. And that's because of the stuff I used to do in my life. I used to be a Wiccan witch 10 years ago. I
yes,
had a coven of people, and I've changed now. But when you guys were talking about, you know, demon possessions, that was when you guys were having the most problems. But yeah, they latch on to you. They also can be born into you by somebody in your family can curse you, and there's all kind. It gets even worse than that. So, but like
yeah.
I said, I don't want to talk about it because when I was talking to him about certain things, we started having the same kind of problems. But we'll just talk about, like, with what like you were saying with people, what happens. You'll have somebody like call you and basically ask you or write you on email if you can find their loved one or what happened to their loved one. Is that how it goes, or the police department, or how they get hold of you?
Normally, what happens is I have a lot of contacts that are either with different departments, or they are with different organizations that are working on, the case. There's a lot of really great Facebook organizations, like Save the Next Girl, that promotes awareness, and they get missing faces of these individuals around, through social media. And so I have a lot of people that reach out to me via Facebook, or people that I work with that'll just say, "Hey, here's a name. What do you get? Here's we have this person missing. What do you see?" So, the best way would probably be to either contact me through Facebook or to go through the website, spiritposse.net. They can also email me at info@spiritposse.net. Um, those would be the best ways for people to get a hold of me if they wanted me to look into something. But I want to stress, um, with the amount of missing persons cases, and or the amount of homicide cases or accidental suicidal cases, which aren't
Yeah.
ever really accidental. But with the amount of those cases, I have people that are not with organizations and that are not with the police department contacting me, and I would be doing readings for missing persons or homicide suicide cases 24/7. So, if that's the case, then I would suggest that you probably book a reading, and we would then go into the details of your loved one and what's going on.
Well, I have one for you actually. My grandmother was supposedly died in a fire 8 years ago,
Hmm.
but we had hired a private investigator. Come to find out, he thinks she was murdered, and whatever that noise was weird. That wasn't me. Um, uh, and we never could figure it out because we couldn't prove it because the fire burned everything. So when you have a fire, you can't, the evidence is gone. But he said he thinks the guy did it. So I wouldn't mind finding out down the line what happened. I think my grandmother was murdered. So
Well, I mean, something like that, with different people I come across, and there's sometimes I'm told to help people. Sometimes
yeah,
spirit will come through and say, "Hey, I don't care what you're doing, but I'm sending you somebody, or the person that just contacted you, you are going to help them." So,
yeah.
I just kind of go with where I'm being led. But, that's something that you and I could definitely talk about. I have no problem tapping into that, and sharing with you what I'm seeing and getting.
Okay.
Yeah,
How about you,
absolutely.
James?
Have you ever had an experience either on like a missing persons case or on like a ghost investigation where it literally just shook you to your core and scared the crap out of you? That's like one of my standard questions I always ask when I have. Usually, it's people that do the ghost investigations that we have on, and that's one of the questions I always ask them. And I'm
Mhm.
always interested in the answer. And for you especially, I'd be interested in the answer because you do such a variety of work.
Yeah, and it's it really is also intertwined. I always get asked, "What's my most scariest experience? Am I afraid? And why is it that I do such light work and dark work at the same time?" And so, first and foremost, I am human and I am afraid all the time. I get afraid all the time. I'm the biggest baby you'll ever meet. And so a lot of the work that I do with the spirit world is in my sixth sense. So when I'm actually in an environment where there is physical activity or I get touched or something is moving, oh my God, I would beat myself just to. If you watch any of my live videos when I was on the road tour with Carissa Fleck, most of the investigations, I was on the floor in a corner against a wall. So, it's when you go into those, I have got to be zoned in, I've got to be tapped in, does not mean that I'm not afraid. You know, I just, you are always going to experience fear at some point, but to do this type of work, you also have to have faith and you have to be stronger than your fear. And I believe that the work that is done, um, is necessary. So I just kind of go with my higher power and let them lead the way. As far as the scariest, I have had some stories and experiences that still freak me out. I remember that I was called to do a case. I did not know I was working the case. We were actually doing an event in Connecticut at the Pain House, and we were
Yeah.
invited to do some work with a private case. It was a demonic case that they've been working on for a while. I thought I had been exposed to demonic energy before. Um, I've never in my entire life, in my existence of being a psychic medium, had I ever experienced what I experienced. And I thought I was going to just observe. And 6 hours later, I was a very integral part of that experience. Um, I still in awe by it. I've never seen someone's eyes change. I've never heard somebody make noises that they're not supposed to make. I've never seen an adult human being pick up multiple people at the same time. So I watched it with my eyes, and I stood there thinking, I have lost my mind. I am losing my mind. But you are in such a fight or flight, response that you don't think about it till it's done. And then you go, holy shit, what the hell did I just do? And I remember saying, I will never do this again. So, but with the scary moments, I have been in antique shops, I've been in prisons, I've been in homes, private cases, I've been in businesses, I've been in homes where murders have taken place. Most spirits that stay behind are not behind because they're happy. They stay behind because of some sort of emotional charge. There is some emotion that has not been processed, whether it's fear or loss or grief or love. Even somebody that is attached to a home that they built and they love the home, it's still an unhealthy connection. They still should completely transition. So there's some sort of fear there. And, anytime that you tap into fear, you're going to feel fear. And, like I said, the minute the lights go off, I like night lights. I like, the flashlight on my cell phone. So, yeah, I don't like what I can't really see with my eyes. That's why I love doing the work I do with being clairaudient or sentient, clairvoyant seeing. When I actually hear things with my ears or my senses, when I see something, it freaks me out, but I love it. It's why we keep going back for more.
Yeah, it's like that adrenaline rush, It's like you almost dread it
The whole
sometimes, but then
time.
you look forward to it as well.
Yeah, you do. And it's bittersweet because I love what I do with the paranormal field. I don't always know what I'm walking into. And sometimes I could be walking into layered energy where it's multiple different time periods stacked on top of each other, different experiences, different tragic events that took place in a location. Sometimes it could be dark energy. I always see what people don't see, why those people stay behind. I can see the murder. I can see the molestation. I can see the fire. I can smell it. I could feel what people are feeling. I can feel trapped. I can feel um, suffocated. I can feel choked. So it's not really, a lot of people go, I want to be a psychic medium, and I think I have the gift. There's a lot of responsibility that comes along with it. A lot of responsibility. But yeah, as long as far as being afraid, um, I don't like when things call my name that when they don't sound human. I don't like that clicking whisper crap, So, when you are in an environment and something calls your name and you've never been there before, it's a little freaky.
Now, do those things
But
stay there,
they tend to
or do they
know
come back after
that
you?
I know.
Like when you go to a place, is it like there and then
Well,
you go home and it's fine, or have you ever had situations where whatever you saw at the location follows you home, and then you have to deal with it on your own turf?
I think for everybody in this field, there are going to be moments where you experience energy that may leave with you. I think that's part of the job. I think that if you're going to be in this field, you also need to educate yourself to know how to handle a situation like that. If you're walking around on a sidewalk full of gum, at one point you're going to get a piece on the bottom of your shoe. You know,
Yes.
so so in this environment, there are attachments. There are um a lot of times people come home with me not because they want to freak me out, but because I often am the bridge. I often am the only one that can understand or feel them or see them. And so, you know, I don't welcome them. I don't have free room and board. I like to come home and I just finished The Sopranos, and I like to unwind. Um, so there's certain things that I do to protect my home, my family, and myself. I sage, I call in angels and archangels. I work with my guides. I also wear crystals in my bra. I've had a lot of people that make fun of me, but there's different crystals that you can use, and I'm not afraid to admit it. If you ever hug me, you will feel I have like 3 quarts over here, and a tiger's eye over
That's
here.
awesome.
But there's different things that you can do to protect yourself. And I don't know, I think more than anything, it's understanding why this realm or the other side exists the way they do. Why there's such a separation between those who transition completely and then those that stay behind. To me, it all
Yeah.
intertwines. It's fascinating. It's fascinating, but yes, sometimes they follow me home.
How interesting. Does so like you'll just be sleeping and something will like talk to you?
So, for example, I was in bed one night, and this was a few years back. I sat up in bed the next morning, and I didn't have to go to work that day. So I woke up, and no one else was at home. They had already left for school or work. And in my room, I could hear what sounds like a very large body pressing against the wall of my bedroom and walking, sliding against the wall. And in that moment, I'm thinking, are you effing kidding me? I am by myself in my bedroom. You're hearing noise. You can't see it. You can't debunk it. And what I had to do in those situations is stop for a moment. I surround myself with the divine light of God's love and protection. And then I start to ask, who are you? What is that you want? Why are you bothering me? And to sum up what had happened, it was the neighbor's son that had committed suicide years prior. So
Wow.
I was the only way to communicate between him and his mom. But it didn't stop him
Wow.
from up until he got my attention. So I'll hear noise.
Actually,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry. No, somebody texted me, asked me a question. They wanted to know how do they protect themselves. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say that I've heard noise. I've heard my name called
Yeah.
in my home. I've had lights flicker. I've had objects move in front of me. And I always know when that starts to happen, things just want to get your attention. I will sage, and that's exactly how you protect yourself. First and foremost,
Okay.
don't antagonize what you don't know. Don't start poking in areas
True.
that you really don't know anything about. If you're not studying this and you're not respecting this field, please don't play with it, because then you're going to call someone like myself, and it's going to be 11 o'clock at night and I'm not going to answer the phone. So, people get themselves into these situations and they don't know how to get themselves out. So to protect yourself, first and foremost, educate yourself. Educate yourself
Okay.
where you're going. Don't go anywhere alone. Do not investigate alone. If you are somebody, I'm sorry, I have a cold, so I feel like I'm like losing my voice. Um,
Oh, no problem. No
but
problem.
if you are somebody that is um, experiencing activity, no matter where you go, if you feel like you are a psychic medium and you don't know how to handle it and you have a lot of activity around you, there are things that you can do. First, assess what type of paranormal activity you're getting into. Is it chosen, like investigating, or you're with a group? Is it happening to you? And then you want to also make sure that, what is your spirituality like? I'm not, I don't have one religious, I don't have one religion that I choose. I kind of use all of it that feels good. It's all love, it's all light to me.
Yeah.
But if you don't really
Yeah.
believe in higher power and you really don't have faith, it's very difficult to call on something to protect you. Now, there are people out there, and I've had conversations with individuals that dabble in darker stuff, and they have other ways of protecting themselves. That's probably for a different show. Um, but if you're asking me how I protect myself, I would suggest that you first and foremost connect to yourself. Most of the possession cases I have worked on were individuals that were extremely vacant with who they were.
Yeah.
Not
I know how
connecting to
that is.
themselves at all, no self-love, no trust, no, not even just being lenient with yourself. So get to know yourself, learn to love yourself, connect to yourself, because the more you love yourself, the more you love source. It's inseparable. And the more that there's love, the less the dark can get in. So that's really would be the foundation. Then you have stuff like sage. You have, sometimes I use Florida water. You have different baths that you can use. Um, I love
Yeah.
essential oils. There's lots of different ways that you can protect your energy.
Have you ever had a spirit
How
approach you
about
that you
like
didn't help? That
say
like you just
like
didn't want nothing to do with. You know what I mean? Have you ever had one that came to you for help and you were just like, I don't want nothing to do with you because your energy is just really dark and it doesn't feel right. Or do you just kind of have to help because they won't leave you alone?
That's a great question. Actually, that's one of the best questions I think I've ever heard. If someone is coming to me for help, my guides, their guides, and source energy will make sure that it's a time where I'm able to help them, even if it is a darker energy. I was at work once years and years ago, and I was at my computer, and out of nowhere, I felt this dark, heavy presence of a male behind me. And I thought, are you kidding me? I'm at work. And I could feel him walk up to me and stand behind me. I immediately went to the girls' bathroom. I'm like, I'm out of here. And on the toilet, I'm literally sitting there talking to my guides because it was a little frightening. It was a little scary. And spirits don't always respect, boundaries. So all of a sudden, my guide said he wants to find Jesus. Please, I'm going to preface again. I am not a Bible thumper. I'm a very non-practicing Catholic. So, when I say this, I just need you to know this is what the individual was looking for. And so what I did was all that I could do, because it's all free will. I went into a meditative state. I then looked at him and I said, how can I help you? He said, I can't find God. And right at that moment, I said, I could see the energy of the Christ consciousness. So you have different ascended masters. I do a lot of work with Christ consciousness. And so I
okay.
said to him, I said, all you have to do is turn around. So he didn't have enough faith. He didn't have enough trust in himself to find God on the other side. And so what I did, all I did was I called in archangels. I called in his guides. I called in any loved ones that would come collect him. Please help him, take him, show him, flip around, do what you got to do. The only thing I asked was, if you do transition, please show me a sign. Show me a sign that you made it. And when I came out of the meditation, I could see angels standing on either side of him. And I saw this little old woman walk through. And it was his grandmother that came to claim him. She literally was standing right there in between angels, and he walked. And after him walking, it wasn't like light and music and no, I faded out and whatever happened. But when I got home, my animal totem is a blue jay, and my daughter was playing outside, and the tree in front of our home was full of blue jays. I don't know about you, but I've never seen than 5 or 6 blue jays together at a time. The tree was full of them. So, that was an example of a darker energy. But even the darkest energy, it's just a separation of the light. So sometimes those situations, all you need to do is just shine a little light in them. If somebody comes to me and needs help, and I am not to help them, I will be told they are self-reliant. They are trying to find the easy way out. You are not to get in the way. So,
Oh,
right. So if I'm supposed to, I will jump in and I will help. If I'm not, because it's part of their path, or they're in the middle of some lesson between them and the karmic gods, I don't want to get in the middle of that. So no, I don't step in where I'm not supposed to.
have you ever had a situation where like he was basically on the question of, like, you were saying you had dark energy, but have you ever had a situation where you just like, I can't do the job, and walked away?
Well, yeah.
Like,
So there's like so many different degrees of dark energy, right? You could be
yeah.
dealing with
Oh yeah.
somebody, a spirit of a homicidal maniac. You could be dealing
Yeah.
with somebody that is depressed. You could be dealing with somebody that's You could be dealing with demonic energy. There's lots of different types of darker energy. Um, when you get into demonic energy, I have done work with energies that sounded like children when they were not. That's where April
Yeah.
said, no. That's where if God says, please go and do this for me, I will tell God, you need to find another psychic. This is not my rodeo. That's just not where that's where I draw the line. Not that I don't know a lot about it. It is not my um it
It's not
takes a
your
lot
thing.
of energy. It takes a lot of energy to pump white light into a space where there is none, you know? And when you're working a demonic case, it is smarter, quicker, faster, and it's often an
Yeah.
illusion. Um
Mhm.
and I don't like to always be on my toes all the time to do cases and readings. So if I'm going to do readings and cases, most of the time it's higher vibrational. um that's why I said with cases you never know what you're going to get until you show up. So I always take a risk when I go into a case. But yeah, when it comes to darker stuff, I won't. I just won't.
Well, I
Because
don't blame you.
that stuff
I don't
that
blame you.
stuff that if that follows you home, like that one case we worked on, I was more afraid of retaliation after the case.
Yeah,
When we left
that will
we
happen.
left that I was on edge. I was on edge for about a month to 2 months after. um I was working the Horsefly, well, not working the Horsefly Chronicles case, that's Chris's case, but I went with her on our road tour, and I actually stayed 2 nights at the Horsefly Chronicles home. And I had done a radio show with them. I wasn't even in the state that the house was in. I did a radio show. The night of that radio show, I was in my bedroom and I could hear a little girl singing. There was no little girl.
Oh wow.
If you know
Oh
anything about the
wow.
Horsefly case, it's a demonic entity. And so
Yeah.
it it and often demonic entities tend to know that I know that they know that I know. So, a normal person
Yeah.
goes in the environment and it's a challenge. You put me in the environment and it's a known challenge. Not that I'm challenging them, but they know I'm aware of them. You know,
Yeah.
they know
Yeah.
that I'm in love and light, and that automatically is a challenge. So, you know, I'd rather not fight. Not that I can't hold my own. I would go to my grave fighting for love and light, but
Yeah.
if I had a choice, it would be not to go into that environment again.
And I totally agree with you because honestly, I was into that environment 10 years ago and it took me forever to get it. And I'll be honest with you, I could never mess with it again because I could go back and
Yeah,
that whole lifestyle, once you get power like that, people don't get it. And it's only something somebody who dealt with it can understand.
yeah,
When you get attacked by something like that, and I'll tell you right now, the whole time you were talking, the weird thing is while you were talking about this, your phone was going in and out. It's crazy. It like something doesn't like us talking. I can feel it. I can feel it now, and it's not happy, but they could deal with it. But because I deal with this kind of stuff. Basically, yeah, when you're into this kind of stuff, man, like that stuff can haunt you for a long time. It haunted me for a long time.
it can, and it does. I mean, these are often the cases that we come in to clean up. So, it really, I don't know. I find the whole, and even though it's darker, it's still intriguing. Not that it's a
Yeah.
lifestyle that I would practice, but
Nope.
to research, to not even to research, but to be involved in some of the stuff I have been involved in, it does fascinate me how there is a constant battle between light and dark. But what's so fascinating is no matter what, even in life, the negativity, the struggles we go through, at the end of the day, love will always prevail. Everything will always
Yeah.
work out. Not that the darkness does not exist, but the truth is things really only exist when we give our attention to them.
True.
You know? So
That's very true.
Yeah. So, all this, the negative stuff. I mean, did you see the post I posted the other day about, it made me laugh. Somebody was saying that, all these haunted environments are always ghosts from like the 1800s. You never get like a modern day ghost saying, it's Britney bitch at like 3 in the morning, you know, because it's true, but it made me
That
laugh.
is true.
All these hauntings are like, my name is Gilbert and I was 12 years old in 1912. But I really find the other side so fascinating because there's such a thin line between them and us.
What?
James, go ahead and ask your question. He's lagging a little bit, so that's why.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a lag going on. One thing I would really like to know is when I write my novels, I get like into this weird zone, like a trance-like zone or something, where I just feel overcome that I have to write, and it just kind of takes me over, and I just go until it lets me go. And sometimes it's many many hours, sometimes it's shorter periods of time. But every time it happens, I'm always left at the end like with a really bad headache, and I just feel like I ran a marathon. I feel sick on my stomach. I feel drained as hell, and I just feel really bad. My question is, do you ever experience that? Like when you have visions and
Yeah.
when you go into a situation like that, after you're done with it, do you ever feel like you just went 12 rounds with Tyson? I mean, because that's literally what I feel like. Like, I feel like someone beat my ass after I get done writing sometimes because it's just so intense. So, do you experience that as well?
Yeah.
Damn.
So there's several things going on here. When you are writing, there is an element of channeling. It's also an outlet for you. It's also a form of meditation. And I know that most people feel like you're talking to a horror author. But the truth is, it is a form of meditation. Where it stops being um, meditative is because I get into zones when I either paint or um, sometimes I do with workshops. When I'm doing workshops, I have to keep myself on time because I could do 20-hour workshops if you let me. But what happens is when we don't listen to our body, because sometimes I'll go, when I was channeling my books, I've written 4 books, and I wrote one of them like back non-stop. It was just a few days back to back to back. And I had to force myself to get up and go to the bathroom only when I really had to. I barely ate anything. You know what? You almost like get into this like panic. You want to like get all this good stuff out. But when it comes to, you're tapping into a frequency. And so when I am
Yeah.
doing readings or when I'm channeling or channeling during a workshop, or I'll tap into a frequency, and there are moments where it's almost like I'm not present but whatever's speaking is.
Yeah.
And so when I'm done, often with a reading or a workshop, I'm fine. When I'm doing an event where I am doing readings all day and then an all night investigation, I am as useful as probably a wet piece of paper or a wet noodle. I, I've done I did an event once in West Virginia where I read 24 people back to back.
Wow.
And when I was done, I literally sat on the couch and stared at the television. I couldn't tell you what we were watching. I couldn't eat. I was just comatose. I was done. So, yeah, I think you go into a zone, but it really is about energy. It's about balance. I should have taken a break and I didn't.
Yeah.
You know, are you meditating? Are you breathing during the day? Forget meditating, but are you breathing? It's also a form of meditation. When you do all of those things, then when you go into these trances or you go into these zones, you're a little more balanced, and you could come out of them with a lot less of an energy drain, because that's really what happens. It's either an energy drain or an overload of energy.
See, when it happens
Well,
to
I know
me,
when I was into that stuff,
I'm not
it
in
was killing
control
me.
at all.
It was killing me, seriously.
Like
It was a
I have zero control over the situation. I feel overcome, and it just takes me over, and I start writing, and it's almost
yeah,
like
You just
I'm not
have
even writing it at all. It's like it's just flowing through me onto the
yeah,
page. You know what I mean? It's like I don't. It's hard to explain because it's my story, and it's I'm telling it, but it's almost
yeah.
writing itself, and I find myself shocked at some of the things that happen in my own novels because I don't see them coming. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like I get the same viewpoint as a reader does because I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe that just happened. And so it's not like I can't. I mean, when you said like you don't eat and you don't drink, that makes perfect sense to me because I can't do that either. If my
Yeah.
wife doesn't bring me something to drink, I'll literally get dehydrated because I cannot stop until it lets me, and it's almost like I have no control over the situation, and that's kind of a weird and eerie feeling.
Yeah. You just
yeah.
kind of yeah, you kind of get into the zone. During the day though, when you're not writing, do you often drink a lot of water?
I drink a ton of water. I'm one of those
I think
people
he's
that
lagging.
I feel like I
Yeah.
can't get enough water. I mean,
It happens. It
I
happens.
literally drink at least almost a gallon a day almost of water. I drink a lot of water. So yeah, when I'm not writing, I'm just voraciously thirsty. I cannot get enough.
Huh. I think it's interesting. I mean, clearly you are being used as a channel to deliver some type of message. What concerns me though is it's a horror it's a horror novel. So I'd love to I don't know, I would love to get like summaries of your stories to see exactly what type of stories what type of stories these are. um I think it's interesting. But your sleeping patterns are also way off.
Yeah, I kind of just sleep when I can
You're
because
gonna have to
see,
wait
ever
for
since
them.
I was a
I get
little
that
kid,
stuff.
every single night I have horrible nightmares, and that's where my books
Yeah.
come from.
Yeah,
That's where I get the bare bones of the books, is my nightmares, and then I take those bare bones and I just start writing, and they just flesh themselves out as I'm writing them. But every single night I get these nightmares, and they're so vivid. It's almost like I can smell the blood. I can feel what's going on. It's so real to me when I'm in it, and I'll wake up literally just covered in sweat and scared out of my mind. It's like I actually lived whatever the hell I was dreaming about. I don't know if that's what normal people the way they dream, or if it's something weird. And I don't even know what the hell is going on as far as the whole process goes. I'm not saying I'm a psychic or anything. I have no idea what is going on. All I know is this has been my entire life. It's happened every single night of my life since I was a child, and that's just kind of the way I live. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's great that you're actually doing something with it. In other words, there's a lot of people that talk about their dreams, whether they're nightmares or epiphanies, and they do nothing with them. So the fact that you're actually using them and writing them, whether you're really choosing to or not, um, I don't know. I think there's something therapeutic about it, even though you're drained or you go through these spurts of writing. That's also part of being a channel, and it's also part of being an author, or an artist of any type, because you do go through these spurts of crazy creativity, and then it like dies, and then it happens again. Pay attention to your writing spurts around the new moon, full moon, and Mercury retrograde, because I also think somehow, some way, that your dreams and what's going on might be linked to shifts in, meaning pay attention to, when it is a new moon. Is it like the night before, during, the day after? Are your dreams more intense? Are they less intense? Pay attention to different patterns. Because I think that would be also interesting for you to be aware of. I think that's kind of neat, because then you have a little more control over it, when you start to look at patterns. I look at patterns. I have to look at patterns. I'm an auditor during the day. for a healthcare company. So my mind is automatically looking at patterns with people I read. I could look at patterns from past lifetimes, issues or blockages. I could tell where you're getting them from, which side of the family, where you were taught, or who taught those limiting beliefs to you. So, I'm automatically triggered to look at or trained to look at patterns. Um, but yeah, sometimes when you are a creator, and also when you're a channel, sometimes you just don't have a choice. It's like you got to go into these spaces without being. I'm just curious as to what your books are about.
They're
You know?
very, very dark.
They're about. It's called I'm Legion, and he
Okay.
wrote three. There's three of them in the story. Yeah, the books. Yeah, very
Huh.
dark, very dark. Demons, stuff like that. You can
Oh
look
wow.
it up on everyone down. I think there's like the first one's night. You can get it on Amazon.
Mhm.
So you guys ever want to check it out? It's called the I Am Legion series. He's got 3 books, and he wrote another book. I forget the name of that one, but I don't know if that one had to do with that series, but it's something. It's kind of on those lines. But
Yeah, the
yeah,
other
they're
book is called The Wind
pretty dark
Spirits. It's a
and pretty
standalone.
pretty wicked. What I'm thinking is something's telling him to write this.
Right.
That's
That's
kind of
why.
what I'm getting out of it.
So okay.
Okay.
So here's my first thought. Right. So this is. I'll just blab it out there. I am used as a channel for love and light. I am used whether I like to or not, because I have tried to walk away from this and I can't. Um,
Yeah.
or when I'm tired and burnt out, the right person will show up at the right time that really needs me, and I can't say no. So then you have, like I said, it's um, the constant fight between darkness and light, and then you have James, who is also used as a channel to relay another type of message. Um, so I think it's interesting because if that is the case, whatever is using you as a channel is getting the message out very clearly.
Yeah.
Um, it's also being talked about on the radio, so
Yeah.
the message is being shared. It is like ripple effects. It is energy that's being put out into the universe. So, at the end of the day, it comes down to choices. When I start to read, because trust me, the darker stuff fascinates me. I have tons of books on witchcraft, dark witchcraft. I mean, not that I've never been in it, but I love reading about it. I love reading about vampires. I love reading about. I was just reading a book.
Love, love vampires.
Oh my
Love them.
god, vampires! I was just reading a book about a husband and wife team. He's a demonologist and she's a psychic medium, and they met at an event. They fall in love and get married, and now the whole story is about the biggest fight of their lives. And she's
Oh
possessed.
wow.
It's great. She's possessed and she's got multiple entities in her, and the whole book is about how he fought and how it's just wild. But
I'd have to
when I
check it out.
yeah, I'll find it. I'll send you a picture of the front of the book. It's really good. But
And it and the difference, yeah, James, to me, it seems like something's telling him to write these stories. So that's why he's getting it. It's going on the radio. It's going on, everywhere. But with me, I'm different. There's something about it, and it's, I don't know. I dabble, like I said, it always fascinates me in that life. So I don't know why. I've always been involved in it. I don't know why. There's something. It's my mom was adopted, so I don't even know who my family is.
uh,
So it's different than way James, James does stuff. I can feel things right off the bat. I can
well,
feel things. It's
there are
crazy.
reasons why you chose to stop living that lifestyle, right? So we
Yeah,
have to be exposed
yeah,
to things. At first, it's like, whoa, I think I kind of like this. We do it with relationships all the time. Hey, this is just for me.
yes,
This feels good. This feels right. And then after a while,
yes,
it's like, screw that. It doesn't feel good at all. And so, we got
yes,
to go through these things. And we realize, I mean, I remember in eighth grade, I had the biggest crush on this kid. He was
yeah.
into satanic crap. And I was like, oh, whatever. And I remember reading about, I'm like, oh, well, let me read about it. let me tell you, I think that was my first experience with the darker stuff, because I couldn't stop reading the book, and I wanted to stop reading the book, and I couldn't put it down. And it got to a point where I had to return the book because I was almost obsessed with looking at pictures in the book. And I ended up sleeping with a rosary under my pillow for like weeks after, because I was having nightmares. And that's what happens. You know, when you get into that type of lifestyle, it will take over, but it will take over in such a subtle way, you know, where you don't necessarily think it's spirit. You're just tired, or you're drained, or you realize you're isolated, or you're not thriving. You're not thriving. You're
Nope.
not really living. And so, but you can't make that decision until you experience that and say, hey, this is not for me, or it is for me.
True.
I think writing is incredibly important. I think all of writing is an art. I think if you are writing, I think that is phenomenal. Just be very careful with what's coming through. And maybe, ask your guides, if you work with them, am I going to be writing other things? Is it going to always be, being a horror author is awesome. I read the stuff. But is there something deeper to what's going on with me? Is there something bigger? We are always going to have light. We're always going to have love. We're always going to have light workers. But they are rising. Light workers are reproducing. And when that happens, you're going to have dark that is also increasing.
I'm not trying to interrupt you. We got 3 minutes to go, so I have to go. Yeah, we're right at the moment. I wasn't even paying attention to the time. Go ahead and give yourself plugs there, April. Who you want to plug, or anybody?
If you want to see what I do, just visit me at spiritposse, POSSE.net. You can look me up on Facebook, April Roane, ROANE. And I have a bunch of cool events coming up. My wife and I are actually doing the Spirit Cruise, the paranormal cruise, in the end of April, beginning of May. We're also doing the what is it called? Mid-South Paranormal Convention, which is going to be kind of cool. Chip Coffey's on the panel, just a bunch of really great people. James Anito from the Dominion Ministry, Christopher St. Booth is going to be there. It's pretty cool. And then I have a workshop coming up February 4th. It's going to be live online and locally, and it's about taking charge of your life, how to take back your life, how to align and thrive again. So,
awesome.
But yeah,
awesome.
That's it. Thank you guys for having me on.
You're always welcome. Like I said, if it wasn't too late, we'd do another hour. We can't, but I'm just saying it. It's your guys are out there at 11 o'clock. It's only 8:30 here. James, go ahead and plug who you're going to plug in.
Basically, we got like a minute left. So what I want to say is thank you for coming on, April.
Paying attention.
It has been an honor, and it's been a pleasure getting to talk to you. And like old boy said, you're always welcome. Much love to you. You're awesome. And to the audience, thank you guys for listening. And as always, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. I love you guys. Bye-bye.